Hello. It is still whatever the day was I said last time. Wow. It's pretty bad. It's still August 16th, 2021. Hope you're well. Oh my goodness. We're going to continue on with our subject of resistance, and we're going to take it down a lot from the idea that that many of us have of resistance, and in an obvious way of what resistance is, down all the way to something that is resistance, but it's subtle and may not be recognized as that unless we are really, really discerning, or unless we really, really want to discover it. So we're going to pause for a second and just say that, when we are living in a way that we want to be in harmony with the flow, what they call the flow, you know what I mean. It almost feels like training, serious training. Like if you imagine someone training for something that's really, really high level intensity, something like that, and it's words. I gotta think of the words here. Unless we're really serious, at some point it's gonna stop. The lessons, the training, whatever you want to call it, the learning, the growing, unless we are really serious, like prioritize this thing as number one above all else, even our own really serious hopes, dreams, desires, longings, whatever. If this thing isn't number one all the time, and we're not really serious, at some point it's just gonna stop, because the kind of resistance that we're going to be talking about here, if we're not, as they say, in it to win it, just like roll your sleeves up and do what has to get done, kind of thinking and feeling, just pulsating in every cell in your body, like, yeah, this has to go. We're moving. There's no going backwards. It dries up. And part of the reason for that is some of the things that we do are observable, and maybe we have a community, or maybe even just one other person, sorry, excuse me, that we can share our experiences with and stuff. But at some point, it's just alone. And not just that, it's like, to any onlooker, so to speak, who's not where we are, it might almost seem like nitpicky. Like it's good enough. That's the thing. It's like we don't get to a point. We did one previously about that too. Well, not about it, but we mentioned it. We don't get to that point where it's like, it's good enough. What's the point? It's just like, what? No. We don't get to that place where it's enough. And it's not because of anything on the outside. It's just because there will be a an impulse inside that moves us in a direction. And so it's not even like we sit down and say, okay, this and this and this. When things come to our attention within, sometimes without, but we're talking about the really subtle stuff. It's going to come within. And, if our attitude is going to be like that, then that's not going to give us enough of the fuel, we'll say, to move forward. Because even though these so-called lessons are subtle, they're going to require a lot more of us. Okay, a lot more. For whatever reason, I don't really understand why, but I just can say from experience that. So let's get to it here. What are we talking about? Subtle types of resistance within. See, it's not so easy. I had one recently, and that's why we wanted to share this. Just there. Okay, let's back up for a second first, and then we'll get to it. Feelings of hostility, opposition, aggression, jealousy, pettiness, fighting, feelings of wanting to fight, wanted to defeat someone else, something else. Those kind of things are not in flow. Okay? We don't like to make blanket statements, but we're going to make that statement because those things come from something that is not free and creative and full of possibility, potential, and love. And we could probably all agree that seems to be right. Yes, that is the case. So we can add a bunch more of things. We're not gonna, but whatever your situation is and your experiences, you could probably tag on a few more of those things that don't fit the description and quality of loving, free, peaceable, flowing, and full of possibility and potential. Those things. And now that's the thing. We know them when we feel them. Now this is the other thing. We know them when we feel them, but we also, when we feel them, they want out. They want expression. They want release. When those feelings come up in us, they want to show themselves. They don't want to stay hidden inside. And we're not saying they should stay hidden inside. That's not what we're saying here. What we're saying is, okay, what are those things? That's a first question. Before we decide what direction to move in, what is this? Beyond, let's just say it's jealousy. Let's just say that. I feel it. I know it. I know how it makes me feel. Okay? And nobody else is in your body with you to feel that feeling, and in your mind. So really, in your mind, to feel that feeling with you. It could be a body thing too. Maybe you get a feeling in the pit of your stomach. Maybe your fist clenches. your teeth grind, whatever it is, a physical kind of manifestation of it, whatever. But those are things that we want. If we're serious again, we want to discover, okay, what's really going on in me now. So this is tricky, because up to this point, we may have just looked at whatever we believed was the cause of that feeling, pointed outward, and said, she is the reason, he is the reason, that is the reason, whatever, for this feeling in me. They did not create that feeling in us. Okay? Now, we did one, I can't remember the name of it, but anyway, basically when people, I think it was the one about intention to harm others, is when we mentioned this next point. When others say things and do things that cause a certain reaction, say, within us, not even cause, that brings up, it doesn't create anything. It calls up from within us a certain reaction. That reaction's within us. Okay? And if I don't already have that thing somewhere in there, it's not coming up. It's not there. Okay? So first we got to get over that hurdle. Mentally. That's just a mental thing right there. Just recognizing that when those type of feelings come up, they're coming from within us. And we can get to all the other yada, yada, yada later. Yeah, maybe another person didn't have any business saying or doing what they did, and it was uncalled for and all that. That's a different subject. Okay, so now when we come to a point where, okay, I recognize that this thing came from within me. Okay. Now, I also recognize that thing that came up in me does not follow the description that we described twice earlier. One of those things including love and peace, harmony, freedom. It doesn't fit that description. Okay. So if it doesn't fit that description, it's not in flow. It is resistance. Okay, that's not, now let's not go to the next thing quickly and knee jerk to, okay, so now you're saying I resist because blah, 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 blah. No, we're not saying any of that. We're just making that statement. Those type of energies that don't fulfill what we just described 3 times now are resistance. They move against flow, not with flow. Okay? And we can talk more about, okay, if we're in a situation and we feel that and we see that and we find that that's what's happening with us, we can talk about, okay, now what? But right now, we're not at the now what. We're just at the recognizing. Because remember in the last installment, that's what we said, right? That's how life works. Sometimes the seeing it is a huge, not sometimes, seeing what is, accepting what is in reality, not what we want it to be, what it is. That's the first step. It's a huge chunk of the pie right there. It's the biggest chunk, really. What to do going forward, and we'll just say that. We'll just say that because if that ain't there, ain't nothing gonna happen. So that's the biggest chunk right there, is recognizing, okay, fine. Got this shit lurking in there, and when someone behaves a certain way, it responds. It comes up and out of me. That's it. That's where we're at now. That's what we're talking about as far as those subtle resistances. And, nobody's going to be able to call us out if we're feeling those feelings inside and don't decide to look at it and see it for what it is. No other person outside is going to call you out on that, because nobody's going to be there inside your mind with you and see that happening. Not that they should anyway, but it's one of those things now. It's like it's a inside job for oneself to accept or not. We are in the driver's seat. We've said that a million, billion, zillion, trillion times on here. We are always in the driver's seat. We get to decide. Do I want to move forward, and am I serious about this? Or, what I'm doing? And we can say no. Hell no, I'm not. I don't know. You know what? I do enough. And if that's how we feel, then that we have every right to feel that way and move about in this place how we decide to move about. Hopefully, well, we won't even go there, but that's just the truth of it. But anyway, so that's what we wanted to point out in this, or highlight in this installment. So I think we were able to do that. It looks like there might be another one coming up. Now we kind of opened something else up that we're not going to touch on. And we might not even do that one today. Probably not. Because it's good for us. We're always so anxious to run ahead. But again, life doesn't work that way. Life does not work on our personal terms. Sorry, it just doesn't. Not in that way. And when we're trying to work in harmony with flow, then we have to recognize that in this type of situation, slow it down. Like we said, recognizing the thing is the first part, and it's the biggest part. So if we're able to do that, then that's huge. And we should be proud of ourselves. Sorry, we should. Not in a bad prideful way, in a good way. Like, you know what? This shit ain't easy. And yet I'm willing to see what is instead of put my head in the sand. And that's something that people do sometimes, and they don't want to have to go there. That's their right. And if you're saying, no, I don't want to do that. Well, maybe this will have been informative and or encouraging to you. So, as always, we want to wish you much love now. This one's gone kind of long. Bye.